And this is the ultimate weapon as an entrepreneur. You can either take that and use that as personal time if you're more lifestyle oriented, or you can do that to build speed in your business.
Power to Live More with Joe Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello. My name is Ellie Dodds and I am co-presenter, and today Joe's interviewing Dave Ruel. Dave is a former competitive physique athlete turned serial entrepreneur, author, speaker and leadership mentor. After founding and growing multi-million-dollar online companies in the field of health, fitness and sports nutrition for nearly a decade, Dave saw the dark side of entrepreneurship gradually rob him of his freedom, leaving him burned out and unfulfilled. Refusing to conform to a broken business culture that promotes workaholism and non-stop hustle, Dave created a sustainable structure and system for his life and business to reclaim his freedom without sacrificing the growth of his companies. Fueled by his passion for entrepreneurship and human performance, he launched Effic, an innovative leadership development company that helps busy entrepreneurs maximize their impact and freedom. Following his efficiency-first philosophy to entrepreneurial productivity and performance, Dave developed a powerful methodology that he sums up in the best-selling book, Done by Noon, How to Achieve More by Noon Than Other Entrepreneurs in a Full Day. Effic's systems, frameworks and tools, including the Effic Planner, are now used by thousands of entrepreneurs all around the world. Effic has also built a fast-growing network of Effic-certified partners who teach the methodology on 3 continents in countries including Australia, the United Kingdom, Norway, Canada and the USA. Back to the studio.
Today I'm interviewing Dave Ruel, founder of Effic and author of the Done by Noon book. Welcome Dave, thanks for joining me.
Joe, great to talk to you. Amazing.
Lovely. So start by telling us a bit about who you are, what you do and crucially where you do it.
Yeah, so Dave Ruel. I'm French Canadian, so the accent, this is where it's coming from. Like, Dave, where's your accent from? It's like, well, that's my French Canadian accent. Where I live, we speak mostly French, but it's a bilingual area of Canada, so we do speak both languages. So pretty much I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been building online businesses for 14 years now, created multi-7-figure ones, sold my last one in 2016 before founding Effic. So Effic really helps entrepreneurs work more efficiently, be more productive and performant sustainably. Mm-hmm. And I do that because, I feel like the entrepreneurs of the world are the creative artists. They are the practical artists of the world. And we hold, in my opinion, a lot of the keys to people's problems. Mm-hmm. And the best way to do that for entrepreneurs is to be able to do it or to produce their best work. And that's what we're trying to do with Effic.
Mm-hmm. So where did this all come from? You've talked about having had sort of more than one business and now you're helping other I was going to say other business owners, but it really is entrepreneurs. You've already said some of the characteristics you see of an entrepreneur, and I've started to read your book, and you spend a bit of time in the book talking about your definition of an entrepreneur and how it's, that I should say we maybe or you, they are a breed of their own. So you've started to touch on that, but I think your story is probably part of the explanation of who you see as an entrepreneur. So tell us a bit about how it all came about.
Yeah, it's so for me, my path to entrepreneurship really, I think I always felt different. I always felt like I wasn't fit for the regular world or regular 9 to 5 or even academically. It was a disaster, Joe. It was terrible. And so I realized that, like my best chances of success was to actually build my own business, but I never really knew how to, go about that or what should I do until that day in 2007. So I used to be a competitive bodybuilder. So I was an amateur bodybuilder for many years. And in 2007, I was traveling to St. John's, Newfoundland on the East Coast here. And I knew that. So I knew the guy named Lee Hayward from the local circuit. And Lee had asked me, like, because I was traveling to his hometown, St. John's, where he lives. He's like, you know what? You're traveling there. You can stay on my place if you want. We'll hang out. I'm competing that weekend. And we'll get to know each other. And we've known each other virtually, but I didn't really knew what he was doing, for a living. And so when I get there, he just told me that he was making, multiple 6 figures a year from his bodybuilding blog. I was like, what? Like you're actually making a full-time living online? And it was 2007. So an online business was not like common, it was more an anomaly. I was like, okay, well, how do you do that? Because for me, it was like the only way to make money with, fitness was training and, coaching. And it was, So it was a totally new window or door that opened in front of me. And from there, I kind of traded my, passion for fitness for an obsession for business. And I learned everything I had to do what it was doing. So building an online business, learn about direct response marketing, about, building info products, things like that, email marketing, affiliation. And I launched my first website. And 2009, I moved on full time. So I moved on full time to in the fitness space. We had cookbooks for fitness, so bodybuilding, muscle building, fat loss, etc. And I was able to make a full time living out of it. One thing led to another. I started publishing other coaches who had different audiences. So, for example, like YouTube was becoming more and more popular at the time. So there were people who had big YouTube followings, a lot of subscribers, but didn't know how to remonetize this their audience. So that's what I kind of transitioned to, like, because I did that for myself and I did that for others. And from there in 2014, I had the opportunity to buy into a company called Optimizers. And to pretty much turn it around, which we did. And I sold my share after 2 years. So the thing is that, during that time, as developing myself as an entrepreneur, becoming an entrepreneur, because that's the thing. Like, I feel like nowadays everybody calls themselves entrepreneurs before they actually accomplished anything.
Yes.
For me, it was like, I never called myself that. It was like, oh, well, I have an online business. That's what I do, right? And then I realized that, okay, well, being an entrepreneur is actually like, you have to become that. Like, you have to learn how to be an entrepreneur, how to act like an entrepreneur, how to evolve like an entrepreneur. It's like, in fitness, you need to, if you want to become a bodybuilder, for example, well, there's certain things that you need to do with your nutrition, with your training, your supplementation. And it was the same thing that I had to learn kind of all over again with entrepreneurship, like harnessing our superpowers in some ways, because, with the thing with entrepreneurs, we're a little bit crazy. We all have these overactive brains between our 2 ears that, are great assets, but also can be a big liability, if we don't know how to harness that properly. Yeah. So I, develop systems over time to, evolve as an entrepreneur. And when I sold my last company in 2016, I had the opportunity to start coaching entrepreneurs. So they pretty much wanted to do the same thing that I was doing, building an online business and, working remotely, things like that. But what I realized is that all the entrepreneurs, 100% of them, need that structure. They need the tools, they need the systems in order to evolve as entrepreneurs. So I started sharing mine with them, and I realized that, they really work, not just for me, they work really for others, and the results were absolutely fantastic. And so from there, Effic was born, where we standardized the tools and we started teaching them, and started getting some momentum, and the Effic became, an international leadership development company for entrepreneurs.
And as you say, the thing with entrepreneurs generally is that whole sort of bright, shiny object distraction thing.
Yeah.
is something that happens a lot. But also the whole piece about working too hard, getting overwhelmed, trying to do everything, thinking that you have to work sort of 24/7 to be successful. And I think, the sort of thing that you're teaching and the sort of topics that I cover are quite similar in that they are about productivity and doing things with ease and not, working ridiculously to get the best effect and all that sort of thing. I don't think that's what coaches of entrepreneurs and small business owners are always teaching, because people get quite sort of process driven or specific about marketing or whatever else. What made you really focus in on the sort of productivity piece of the leadership?
Because I saw where the problems with, first of all, the entrepreneurial culture. It's a culture of more. It's a culture of excess. It's a culture of nonstop hustle. And it's a culture where, that openly makes you feel that if you're not active all the time, you're not playing the game. You're not a real entrepreneur if you're not hustling 24/7. And that's the kind of narrative that is being fed to entrepreneurs. I was like, this is wrong. This is not what it is. And you can try it for yourself. You can try to be as active as you want. You can operate from the perspective of more and trying to cross off as many things as you want, as you can from your to-do list. That doesn't mean you're going to be productive, or worse, that you're going to achieve what you want to achieve. I think the big problem is that we get caught in the game. We do too much, and eventually we drift from our superpowers. We drift from what we should be doing, or even what made us great in the first place. And second, we drift from the initial intent, the initial vision of what we want out of our business. And the commonality studying entrepreneurs is that they all want the same thing. And that thing is freedom. And we're talking, there's three freedoms really, like within the big freedom umbrella. One, freedom of time. You usually start a business because you want to do things when you want. That's a big driver. There's the financial freedom. Obviously you want to make good money doing that. You want to make a good living out of your business. But the third one, which is in my opinion the most important, is creative freedom. You want to do what you want. And as business grows, the problem is that you're going to gradually stop doing what you want, because the business is going to dictate, what you're going to be doing. Because if you're not equipped with the right systems or the right structure, the problem is that you will be reacting to what's coming to you. And this is when the chaos starts, building in. And that's a big problem. And also, and the thing is that because you're fed, the BS that, you need to work all the time and do all that and be active. Well, guess what? Like, the more you feed it, the more reactive you are, and the less effective, you become.
Yes. Yeah. And there is a lot of sort of pressure to conform to those sort of stories, isn't there? I was just reflecting as you said that people talk about lifestyle businesses, and that's a derogatory term generally, rather than a description of people who've decided what they want to do and what they don't want to do, and what they want their life and their business to look like, and then they're sort of acting accordingly. It needn't be a criticism, but one of the ones I often talk about on here is the whole thing about early birds and night owls. I'm a real night owl, but the narrative is very often that you've got to get up and do everything by 6 o'clock and then you'll be really successful, and the rest of you are just lazy, sort of thing. And that again isn't true. It's just quite an easy story to tell. And I guess because I'm the opposite, I have to find all the evidence to say that that's fine too. But it's interesting, isn't it, that there's so many stories that are told, and then people buy into them, and then it becomes supposedly the truth, and it's not the truth. It's just a perspective.
There's only this perspective, and there's no truth. There's only your truth.
Yeah.
And, that's the thing with Done by Noon. Obviously people are attracted by the name of the book because it's like done by noon. So there's that element of, oh, no, it's not possible. Or that's the element that's really going to appeal to time freedom, which is one of the main drivers, entrepreneurial main drivers. But when you read the book, the main question that I ask when it comes, we cover, a lot more ground before we're not just, it's not a tactical book. We have tactics, obviously, but it's not just a tactical book that's going to tell you, oh, do this and do that, and you're going to be done by noon. The real question that we ask when it comes to organizing your time is that, what if I would tell you you would need to be done by noon every day? How would you organize your day? So, if you tell me like, oh, I'm going to start working at 2 a.m., well, guess what? I think there's something broken in the way you work. I don't think it's a matter of waking up earlier. It's a matter of understanding what you need to work on, understanding what to prioritize, and understanding that based on your context, here's how you can plan, these different tasks, how you can organize these different tasks in your schedule, how you can optimize certain processes or certain routines in your business that's going to allow you to really like have a schedule that works for you.
Yes.
Because we have 24 hours a day, and whether you're a night owl or you are like it doesn't really matter. It's how you organize your time that matters, and also organize your time based on what you want and how you want to live your entrepreneurial life. I like what you said. I feel like, the word life, and I don't really like the word because I feel like now there's a label attached to it, like lifestyle entrepreneur. The problem is that it labels entrepreneurs as like lazy, don't want to work, or the 4-hour work week, for example. And, for those who have read the 4-hour work week, it's not about working 4 hours a week.
No. It's
about building better processes and systems in your business. Exactly what we talked in Done by Noon. Different ones, obviously, but it's the same premise. It's just but the truth is, if you're appealed by the words done by noon, that means there's something missing in what you have right now.
I love the fact that you talked about context, and one of the things that you talk about in the book, which again completely sort of agrees with what I talk about, is not liking the work-life balance term. And I've always said I don't like it because of a bit of what we're saying. I call it work-life integration. You described it as something slightly different. I can't remember your phrase for it now.
Work-life harmony. That's what we call it.
That was it. Yeah. So tell us more about your thoughts on that.
But that's exactly like your work-life integration, I guess. I feel like there's no clear, work and life are not forces that compete against each other. Not as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you will bring your life in your business, and you will bring your business into your life. That's inevitable. The key here, like, you have to look at it like the yin and the yang, like some kind of a dance where, sometimes the business is going to lead. Some other times your life is going to lead. And there's always going to be that little piece of business in your life and that little piece of life in your business. But it's all like how well overall, on the grand scheme of things, how well these two dance together. And it doesn't mean that, because you're taking from your life that and you put in your business that, there's something missing, or that there's something that is, that needs to be accounted for. And I think it's a matter of perspective. But when you look at it that way, you understand that you're comfortable with the fact that it's just one big thing. And it's how well you can dance with it or integrate your business with your life and your life with your business, that I think you find real fulfillment as an entrepreneur. Because, again, like, entrepreneurs, we're not just there to trade time for money. That's not why you become an entrepreneur. It's not that, right? So that's why you have to, yes, you can talk work-life balance when someone's an employee and they don't decide on these things, but an entrepreneur have the power to decide on how they want to spend their time, their energy, and their attention, right? So it's very, very important to integrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. I coach a couple of people in Australia, and both of them I speak to at 10 o'clock at night, which some people would absolutely balk at. How could I possibly do that? And others would say, well, you have to because of the time difference, so that must be why. And actually the reality is I'm really quite on my game at 10 o'clock at night. And so, those two things come together there, the time zone difference and the fact that, everyone else is probably in bed in the house by then. It's nice and quiet. And I'm actually, wide awake, ready to help somebody. And yet sometimes I don't sort of admit to that, albeit I've just said it on the podcast.
But you know what? It's all part of the self-awareness process,
Yes,
and that's what's great. And we talk a lot about in the book about self-leadership and self-awareness is one piece of that. But you understand your chronotype, you understand, like how you operate. And that's so important as an entrepreneur, like, because you work like that, you don't you can feel guilty that, oh, I'm not doing the 5 a.m., club and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, you don't have to. Like, you have to do what's right for you based on your context, based on what you want, and not what other people are dictating. I feel there's a way to conduct yourself as an entrepreneur, like when it comes to attending your time, your energy, your attention. So pretty much like how you spend your time, on what you spend them, and managing your energy accordingly. But it, like, then you adapt it to your own context, and that's a big mistake that I see all entrepreneurs do. And thanks to, the Instagrams and the one-sided, or like, they just show you one thing that they want to show you. They don't show you the big picture in the context.
No. And also it's interesting. So self-awareness is one of the things I was thinking about at the beginning of our conversation. I thought, we must discuss that at some stage. And, it just naturally comes into the conversation for all the reasons that we've just shared. But I'm also thinking about things like sometimes I think about, posting something on a social platform, or in my membership group, I think about putting something onto Slack. And then I think, oh no, it's 11 o'clock at night. You can't do that. And I've more recently started to think, well, no, actually I can, because firstly, people know that's how I work. And secondly, I teach them to only have notifications on as appropriate. And so at 11 o'clock at night, if they don't want to see those notifications, they shouldn't have them switched on. So the fact that I'm posting is sort of irrelevant, So yeah, I've rationalized it, if you like, to myself that what I teach actually should mean that I can post stuff anytime I like, because people are only going to pull from it when they're ready to. It's not me pushing, it's them pulling when they're ready, in the same way that I'm, creating stuff when I'm ready. And I think that's such a strong message for people in business.
I think, that's the thing, entrepreneurs need to understand that they need to be responsible for themselves. They need to lead themselves, And I think this is the starting point to everything. If you don't know how to lead yourself properly, how are you going to lead your business properly? How are you going to lead your family properly? It's so important. And it starts with you. So, a lot of people invest in a coach because they're going to think that the coach will give them a secret formula on how to operate. Well, guess what? I can give you whatever formula you want. If you are not adapting that to yourself, to your context, to who you are, to what you want, and like it's the minute like you have a little bit of resistance, the whole thing breaks.
Yeah.
Right. And that this is just not what a coach does. The coach will guide through your unique, context. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a bit about how you prioritize what you do in your days, what your days look like, and how your sort of principles come to play for you.
Yeah. So the way we approach like this, the start of the methodology is understanding the 4 types of entrepreneurial tasks that you're going to have. So as an entrepreneur, you're always going to be faced with different tasks in your business that, whether you want it or not, you're always going to have. So the first types of tasks, and we classify that based on impact. So, how impactful these tasks are, how important they are for your, for the growth of your business, but also effort. So how much energy you're going to need to actually spend in order, to perform these tasks. And so, yes, you're going to have different types of tasks, but not all tasks are created equal. And that's the most important. So there's 4 types of tasks. The first ones that we really push, which are, in my opinion, the most important tasks that get neglected as we get busy, are what we call the rocks. So the rocks are tasks that are associated to projects, to innovation, to growth within your company. The problem with a lot of with the rocks is that as you get busy, you have another types of tasks, which are the responsive tasks, which are like take away from you performing things that really matter in your business because you get so busy. The thing is that you're going to have responsive tasks, or not responsive, reactive tasks in your responsive tasks and other types of tasks, but reactive tasks, because they're just the byproduct of your business operations, right? So that's why you need to understand how to manage them properly. So the rocks, I'm going to tell you why we call them rocks in a moment. We have the reactive tasks, so the byproducts of your business activities, which honestly, like for a lot of people, constitute a lot of the tasks that they perform through the day as an entrepreneur, unfortunately. The responsive tasks, so everything that has to do with responding to different, communication channels, whether it's email, DMs, project management softwares, things like that. And the 4 types of tasks are routines. So routines are repetitive and recurring tasks that are mandatory for the well-being of your company. So these are tasks that they're not byproducts. They're actually part of your business process. You have to perform these tasks. But the problem is that sometimes and because they're not optimized, your processes are not built properly. It's going to feel like Groundhog Day, where you have to do a lot of these tasks, where if they were put into a process, optimized, you could delegate, outsource, automate them a lot easier, more easily, and reclaim, some of that time, right? So, but the main task, so back to the rocks, what really opened my mind to it was Dr. Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of, the First Things First book, then the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He talks about it in it, but it's how he was showing what are the real life priorities. And he was doing, you probably saw that, Joe, like the pickle jar theory, the big rocks, the small rocks, and the sand. And depending on what order you put them in, this is what's going to dictate how much space you're going to have in your life. And because when you focus on the small things first, let's say the sand, and you put that in your jar, it's going to create a layer at the bottom of the jar. Then when you attend, the little bigger tasks, the small rocks, and then you put them in your jar, it's going to create another layer. Yeah. And from there, these 2 layers are going to be so thick that you're not going to be able to fit all the big rocks, the really important things in your life. And when I saw that metaphor, I was like, this is exactly the way I would go I would design a workout, for example. You don't just go to the gym and do whatever exercise. There needs to be some cohesion with it, right? So first of all, you need to understand your goals. What do you want to do, and then you start creating a program. You work, within, 8 weeks or 12 weeks programs, let's say 12 weeks. Well, from there, I need to understand, okay, I need to tell you what you're going to train on Monday. I need to tell you, which exercise, how many sets, how many reps, the proper movements, things like that. I was like, this is exactly the same. You need to prioritize your work accordingly. So I use that metaphor, and I've built a system for project management with that. It's like, okay, well, I know where I'm going. I understand my big picture. I know my goals for the year. Now let's look at the next 90 days and let me look into what milestones I need to reach, I need to accomplish, and how to get there. So the big rocks are the milestones, and then you break it down into small rocks, which are bite-sized actionable pieces that you're actually going to extract, from your buckets every day and work consistently on it. So, the big priority of my work day is actually performing one of these small rocks. It's actually focusing on the work that really matters in my business. The things that is really going to move the needle and make me move forward. And when I do that, I know my business is taken care of when it comes to innovating, when it comes to growth, right? When it's done, I know I need time to work on the routines, which is the recurring tasks that keep coming back in my business, that are mandatory for the well-being and that I need to perform. So let's say, I don't know, you are a coach. Well, you need to work on, attracting clients, for example. So you might need to have a routine when it comes to social media, right? Posting, commenting, things like that, right? So it really depends on what your business is all about, but think about all the things that you keep doing in your business. And from there, the key to eliminate reactivity is to have a time during the day where you attend your secondary tasks, as I call them, but you're limited in time and with the number of them that you can perform. If you don't do that, your list is always going to be a long to-do list, and you're never going to catch up. That's for sure. So you do that, and once you do that, the fourth types of tasks and how I organize that through my day is I have a specific time frame or time slot in my schedule where I answer emails, I answer my team's messages, my DMs, for example, or I look into comments into my project management platform, and that's it. So when I do that, I know that, hey, everything is taken care of in my business. But what happens is that when that's all optimized, that opens up a lot of space. And this is the ultimate weapon as an entrepreneur. You can either take that and use that as personal time if you're more lifestyle oriented, or you can do that to build speed in your business. I can maybe perform a second or third small rock that day, or I can do research for my business. There's so many things that you can do, right? And as an entrepreneur, that's the thing. We love to work. So there's not going to be a shortage of things that you're going to be able to do with that time,
Yeah. And so from a sort of practical point of view, what does that look like in terms of getting that plan together and then sort of managing it on a daily basis? What sort of tools are you using to do that?
So I'm a very analog guy. So even though I'm working, I have online businesses. My main tool is my own planner. So the Effic planner that we designed, which is always my main tool. And if it's not in my planner, it doesn't exist pretty much. So and I've built that because that's the thing with online. It's so easy to add more and more and more tools, more shortcuts, to build more capacity. But having the constraint of a physical product, I love that. So that was the first product that we launched at Effic, the Effic planner. And so I use that to control my workload, to have and knowing exactly what my quarter looks like. So it's a quarterly planner. It's good for 90 days. And now my projects are organized there. My routines, and also all my days are planned, within my Effic planner. And doing that, I match that with I use for time management. I use a classic Google Calendar. And the Google Calendar becomes actually my timeline. And so, pretty much how I, when I do things, and my Effic planner is what I do. So I have these both, and I use both tools with that. We have other tools that we use for communication. For example, we use Twist for internal communication.
Yep.
So we don't use Slack. I'm actually against Slack because of the reactive aspect of it, and the chat aspect of it. I feel like, and that's, for me, it's because my team is spread it all over the world. I need something that's going to be better, to talk. I would say not in live mode, So a synchronous tool. So I love Twist. And that's pretty much everything we use. We use ClickUp for our project management platform, and that's it. Very, very simple tools.
And what about setting those rocks and then breaking those down? Is that part of the planner as well? Yeah.
It's the main feature of the planner, yes, because what we show you how to do that, but we also have what we call buckets. So the buckets are actually where you're going to have, you're going to plan those big rocks and those small rocks. So within the planner, you have 3 buckets. So 3 projects that or 3 parts of a project, for example, that you're going to need to focus on. And that's a great tool for load management. because the problem is that if you're not proactive with the workload that you're going to have, during the next 90 days, you're pretty much opening the door to overwhelm and, crazy work days and more tasks. You need to understand like how much work you can actually accomplish and how much, I would say, proactive work you can accomplish. Yeah. So we've studied that like for many, many years, and we've realized that the most that someone can really take on as an individual, as an entrepreneur, is 3 buckets. And the 3 buckets, you have 4 big rocks per bucket. So a big rock is a milestone, as I said. And each big rock, you need to associate a maximum of 5 small rocks to each big rock. Mm-hmm. So that means you're going to have 5 small actionable, 5 actions, maximum of 5 actions that you're going to be attaching to a milestone. And when you do that, when you look at it, let's say let's take the example, then you have 3 full buckets. We're talking 4 big rocks per bucket, 5 small rocks attached to a big rock. So that means you're going to have 60 small rocks. So 60 actions to perform. But guess what? In 90 days, you have not, so per quarter, you have 90 or 91 days. Mm-hmm. You do take some days off. You're not working every day. No. And also the fact that not all these small rocks are the exact same size. Some rocks are going to take 1 day to accomplish. You can have you will be able to crush them within 60 to 90 minutes every day. Some will take you a couple of days because they're bigger, So you can't just say that, hey, I'm going to be, I'm going to crush these 3 full buckets. A lot of them, we overestimate what we can do. And when people start using the methodology, they end up filling their buckets the first quarter, and they realize that, whoa, okay, that's a bit too much, because I'm not using to, working like that. I'm not yet optimized with my routines are not optimized. The way that I react to my business, is still not the best. So there needs to be a period of adaptation, and but it's a great tool for managing workload and getting your workload under control, and also making sure that you're always working on things that matter in your business, which is the most important.
Yes, yeah. It's interesting that I think that the whole thing about attempting too much is so often what we do, and as you've said, a lot of what that is not knowing sort of what time we have available and what the impact of all those things we've said we're going to do is, and then we just ignore it all, don't we, because we can't get any of it done, or seemingly. Exactly. So that whole visibility piece is so important. Mm-hmm. So you came from a sort of athletic fitness background. How do you sort of build that into your business to have the energy to do what you do now? I presume you haven't dropped that. You didn't suddenly become a couch potato.
Are you talking from like me physically being still alive? Yeah, well, the key is obviously changed over time. I'm not as obsessed with bodybuilding as I was in my early 20s. Yeah. I'm pushing to my, I'm almost 40 years old now. So it's not the same. But the key for me is to keep an active lifestyle. It's sweat every day, as I say. It's just putting that into a routine, into a daily self-care routine. And actually, we have that in the planner too, where there's basics to human performance or performance as an entrepreneur that is all related to you. Not just about being being more productive. It's just like the fact that you're also a human and you need to take care of yourself. That's a big part of self-leadership. So for me, it's hydration. So making sure I'm properly hydrated every day. And that's sounds stupid and simple, but it's actually a big problem. People don't drink enough water. Yeah. And that's what's causing you to get tired, like that afternoon crash. It's not because you're not having your 3rd cup of coffee that you're going to crash, because you're probably not hydrated enough. So proper hydration, sweating every day. I don't need to go to the gym every day. For me, it's I probably train now 3 times a week, but I also play hockey, ice hockey twice. Canadian, obviously, is what we do. So we were born with skates and a stick and a hockey stick. So I play hockey twice a week, and I try to stay active. Go for walks with the kids, with my wife. We go snowshoeing in the winter. I mean, we do, I go fishing. So things that keep me active, because obviously I work online. So, a lot of my days are, I'm sitting for me multiple hours per day. So I need to keep that active. Trying to have also a good nutrition. Obviously, when you have kids, I'm not eating the same things as I used to when I was, more a competitive, fitness athlete. But now as to finding, making sure that very, very limited number of bad food enters the house. We're very proactive with our meals. We develop systems to cook and prepare all that. Doing that, and also taking care now of my mental health too. So journaling, meditation. Well, meditation, journaling, I kind of put that into the same category in some ways, where it's more time of reflection with yourself. And also I practice gratitude daily. So, coming back to the essential of, why I do things and what I have right now as well, that is easy to lose track when you become busy. So, reminding yourself that every day has been, is the bad. I think it's like vitamins for your brain, or vitamins, as you would say in the UK. My buddy Andy from London always said we used to, when he was working with me. So I'd buy optimizers. I always say vitamins, and Andy was saying vitamins. And that was always the best. We had a good laugh with that.
Lovely. And what about learning and improving, developing yourself? It's clearly something you've done, forever. How do you do that currently?
Developing myself, you mean as a person, or as a
person, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner?
Yeah, the big part is never to stop learning. Like for me, the key is like, I'm not a learner. That's funny because I read a book. I wrote a book, but I'm not an avid reader, for example. That's not the way I work. Yeah. I love being part of masterminds, for example. So having a peer group of entrepreneurs, of higher level people, like that are smarter than me, who are more advanced than me, and that I can learn from. So I love being part of that, like discovering new things, and always try new stuff. For me, it's always about doing more than actually like reading, or I'm more of a man. Like say, I learn by doing. So I'm trying to get exposed to as many things as I can, and learning that way. I'm a very organic learner.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's mostly the way I do that. Honestly, I wish I had a formula for you, but yeah, I think, I try to live to the fullest. I try to practice what I preach. Yeah. Being present, being grateful, understanding myself, as much as I can. Sometimes, I've done consulted therapists as well before, not because oh shoot, I'm, burnt out and depressed, I need a therapist, just because like sometimes they ask questions that you don't ask yourself. So having people like that. I work with coaches who are from different backgrounds. Like I had a coach for many years, actually, Clayton, who not really a coach. It's more like pretty much a person I paid to talk to, kind of. More of a guy, but he was like he worked with Dr. Stephen Hawking's techniques of the scale of consciousness and muscle testing and things like that, and that was great for like where he would lead conversations and the things that I would discover about myself just by talking about them, about calibrating them. That's what he was doing, and it just keeping a curious mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that word, curious. So last couple of questions. What about those days where it all goes horribly wrong? How do you deal with those days?
Oh, well, first of all, I got to say, and that's funny because I had that conversation with someone yesterday. We all have them, and more often that people would think, For example, you would read my book and say, oh, Dave has it all figured out. Well, guess what? I still have a lot of shit days, and it happens all the time for many reasons. It could be that you're tired. It could be that you are stressed. It could be that, for various reasons. And, I always go back. So the key is always self-awareness. Is understanding, okay, why is that happening? So for me, I'm like, okay, well, do I have control over it or not? If I have control over it, it's like, what can I do just to make it better? If I don't have control over it, it's understanding that, yes, it sucks. I react to it. I react emotionally to it. I don't have control over it. There's nothing you can do, buddy. You know what I mean? But the things that you have control over, every week, for example, I have a weekly review, and that's part actually of the planner. When you look at your week and you evaluate what went well, what didn't go as well, so the challenges you had, and what you're going to be doing the next week in order to make it better. And also you rank it's called the self-awareness scorecard, and it's basic. It's pretty much you're going to rank on from 1 to 5 how you felt that week. So do you feel productive? Do you feel clear? How was your energy levels? Are you satisfied with your week? And if you see that you're like scoring low on these, like understanding, okay, why did I feel I was like 2 out of 5 on energy? What happened? Well, the baby didn't sleep so well, and I had only 3 hours of sleep for 2 days, and that kind of messed up my sleeping pattern.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have control over it? So parts, yes, parts, no. So what you can do, the thing you can do is maybe look with your partner and say, okay, well, we're going to do a schedule where, I'm going to be sleeping. I'm going to put earplugs, and you're going to be responsible for that night. And we're going to alternate so we can all have, but good night's sleep. But you cannot, there's no off button on a baby. You know what I mean? So you don't control that.
You've learned that, have you?
So when it happens, hey, I'm happy that I have a baby that's crying. I do have a baby. I have a live kid, and it's just bringing you back to that and makes you understand that there's a bigger picture to everything, and sometimes we just get bogged down into the small details of things, and we react emotionally to it. And you have to acknowledge these emotions, but understanding why you have these types of emotions. Is there triggers? Is there like, why are emotionally attached? Something like that. And it's part of the self-awareness process, and it's never going to stop. That's the beauty of it. That's why I find great that you always learn to know yourself even more every day, and you're going to die, and there's still going to be a lot of things you don't know about yourself.
Yes.
I think that's great. I love that.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. And the last question then, what about those days where you get to live more? And that's where I describe it as getting to do more of the things that you want to do, less of the stuff that you don't want to do. What do those days look like for you?
I like that question. A good day for me is a day when I had a lot of time of reflection. I had time to think. When I have time to think, this is when good things happen. When I'm too busy and I'm too much into doing, this is when I realize that, I'm not living as much. So for me, it's understanding where my superpower is, or what my power zone is. What are the 2-3 things that I'm really good at, that I want to do more of, and that makes me feel good. And when I do that, good things happen. So yeah, it always involves a lot of thinking. It involves some kind of hockey. I love hockey. I'm a passionate guy. I absolutely obsessed with hockey, and I love playing hockey. I love watching hockey. I'm a devoted Montreal Canadiens fan. I think for you guys in the UK, it's probably the same with soccer. You have the Arsenal and the Manchester United super fans, and you have these sports where people are very passionate about them, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it involves that. It involves family. Obviously, it involves a lot, close time with my wife, close time with my daughters. Lots of hugs and kisses. That's my love language. So, when I have that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
My wife eats gifts. So you would ask her and be like, when I receive some nice gifts from my husband. But for me, it's that, being with my daughters and enjoying what I have. And the more, and we talked a little bit about it, Joe, like before this, we started recording, but what COVID brought up was that we're so blessed, and we have things in front of us that, and I mean, I'm talking personally. I know where, I'm grateful for that, but it's understanding that I'm a privileged guy. I live in a wooded area here. I have, quite a bit of land, and I live in a nice house. We're healthy. Um, I have a river that I can fish in right there. I can do, like, there's so much greatness around, and it doesn't involve, any financial situation or anything. It's just when I can appreciate what I have, it's a great day. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I live more when I appreciate what I have, big time.
Lovely. Thank you, Dave. It's been really good talking to you today. Tell people how they can find out more about you and get in contact.
Yeah, so you can check me out, daveruel.com. So DAVERUEL.com. You can check out our company website, Effic. So effic.co, EFFIC.co. If you want, I think you're going to have some links as well, because we're going to have some, you can have a free copy. So Joe, your viewers can have a free copy of your listeners, sorry, can have a free copy of the Done by Noon book. So I think Joey set you up with a special link so they can get that.
Yeah.
So if you look in the show notes, go check it out. And hit me up on Instagram, say hi, go follow me. I'm pretty active there. I'll always reply to every single message. So don't hesitate. I'm pretty, you can reach me pretty easily.
That's good to know. So thank you so much, Dave. It's been really interesting talking to you today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Attention home-based coaches and consultants. Are you stuck and not getting stuff done? Do you wish you were more organised and had more time to live more? Consider joining the Power to Live More Calm Gold membership to support you in running your home-based coaching or consulting business. You get access to our supportive community, including weekly Zoom calls, accountability, learning materials teaching you online marketing, audience building, income generating, and all sorts of other things you need to run your home-based business with ease, along with materials like templates, checklists, and planners to keep you motivated, organised, and productive. It's time to join the Power to Live More Calm Gold membership. Use the code MY1TRIAL to get the first month for £1, and then it's just £37 a month after that, with no obligation to stick around. You can cancel any time. All this information is available in the show notes. If you go to powertolivemore.com / in this case 213, then you'll find them there. And this week I want to talk to you about managing anxiety. The theme for this month, you'll remember, is self-care, and the topic for this week is managing anxiety. And at the Gold members call on Monday, we talked about some strategies to enable you to do that. And I started by talking about an article that I read on Lifehacker, which talked about how you can reframe stress and anxiety into productivity. And we were talking about how when our brain is stressed, the chemical noradrenaline is released. And it's one of those chemicals that's a bit odd in that it increases the sort of alertness in your brain and helps with things like vigilance and focus and attention. But if you have too much of it, then it can cause issues around anxiety and so on. So you've probably thought in the past about the fact that you do need a certain element of stress in order to perform well. But you also know that too much stress works in the opposite way. And in fact, in the article, it talks about finding the Goldilocks zone of noradrenaline, the just right zone. So we've talked in other weeks about self-care tips and how to keep yourself healthy and well and energised. And what we particularly ended up talking about on the call this week with Dr. Marilyn Pointer, who's one of the members who specialises actually in managing anxiety. We talked about some strategies that Marilyn uses with her clients in order to help them to get into a very relaxed state, using some hypnosis techniques to go back and work out where anxiety has come from and therefore work on ways to relieve that in the future. But she also did talk about if you have really serious anxiety, how important it is to go to a professional to help you to reduce that anxiety and help you to sort of move forwards. So we talked
about all sorts of strategies around, relaxation and self-care. As I say, Marilyn talked about hypnosis and those sorts of interventions that professionals can help you with, and then also about how there are more sort of in-depth interventions, if you like, for things like PTSD and some of the really high-level anxiety issues. So my question to you is, what are you doing to reduce your stress levels whilst also keeping them high enough to help you to perform well? And just to say that article I read on Lifehacker was talking about the work that has been done by Ian Robertson, who released a book in 2017 called The Stress Test, How Pressure Can Make You Stronger and Sharper. So that might be a resource that might be of interest to you. Again, the show notes for this week's show are at powertolivemore.com/213, and we look forward to speaking to you next week.
Use your power to live more.